The enigmatic Dr. Voyan devised a new experiment that offered couples $5 million if they stayed in an all-white room for 50 days. If one of them quits, the price drops to $1 million. No contact with the outside world, no entertainment, just companionship. However, you can get snacks by paying part of the winnings. Today's couple is Mike and Kate, who think money is easy to come by. Mike considers himself very lucky to have found this place, and Kate thinks this is the second chance they deserve. But she also points out that maybe the money should be split to make things easier. Her plan is to invest the money, but Mike finds it incredibly boring. He sees his future in partying and having a good time without ever thinking about money again. After hearing an AI voice reminding them of the rules, they explore the area and realize they weren't kidding when they called it wild. Everything is white, some are just beds and benches. There are also basic bathrooms that are allowed to enter individually as per the rules. A red button you can use to exit, a touch screen you can use to request treats, and a large clock above the exit door that counts down the time left for the experiment. Their diet is designed to meet their daily nutritional needs and consists solely of tasteless white shakes in white packs. It also has automatic lighting that changes throughout the day, letting you know when to go to bed in the morning, noon, evening, and night. You can set alarms using the touch screen. Mike treats this as a vacation and intends to sleep in late, but Kate sets an early alarm to make it a bit of a routine. The first night, at bedtime, Mike tries to talk to Kate, but she worries that Kate is being watched by the professor. After all, they end up doing it in secret and quietly, as Mike insists. When morning comes, Kate goes to the bathroom, looks at herself in the mirror, and says a few words of affirmation to lift her spirits and keep her goals fresh. After they both shower, they toss their clothes in the bathroom's laundry chute, and in exchange receive a pair of very simple, if at least colored, pajamas. As Kate tries to theorize why Voyan is doing this experiment to keep things busy, Mike tells Kate about this man's previous experiments that ended in tragedy for his working-class family. Talk about a documentary you saw. No one knows why Voyan did this. All I know is that he has a lot of money and likes to use it to put people in extraordinary situations. Because he is fascinated by human nature. Maintaining oneself becomes a problem sooner than expected. Kate likes to meditate, while Mike sometimes stares at her watch. He has also dabbled in various philosophical themes, such as the meaning of white, which he analyzed using all his knowledge from art colleges, and how to brush your teeth. Kate always reminds Mike that she doesn't stare at her watch and focuses on the price, but she has a hard time thinking positively about Mike who can't sleep at all. She affirms her words, follows a routine of making the bed, and tries to keep Mike in good spirits. When Kate meditates, Mike mostly tries to do exercise, such as running. They clap together, play Marco Polo, and even dance. Every time you take off a dirty pajama, you get another one that looks exactly the same. Several weeks passed and finally another thing happened. Mike found a bug that had sneaked into the room. After talking to him, Mike tries to give him some of the meal shake, but as soon as he spills a few drops on the floor, an AI voice reminds him that the food is only for participants to consume. Concerned that bugs cannot live here, Mike asks if there is a way to get the little bugs out. He promises he doesn't want to go. Kate explains that the speaker with the AI's voice doesn't seem to be two-way and has already tried it, and Mike decides to press the button to open the door. This causes an altercation as Kate is convinced that if she presses the button they will lose, even though Mike didn't actually leave and only held out his hand to stupid bugs. After putting the bugs to sleep, Mike tells Kate that bugs are living creatures and he has no sympathy for them. That's why he accuses Kate of disrespect because he's not a vegan like him. As the argument escalates, Kate finally confesses that he only thinks Mike is vegan because he wants to anger his wealthy father, who has everything he needs. Kate then tries to pull herself out of the conversation, but she ends up rubbing my nerves and Mike can't believe her apologizing that it was an accident. Mike spends the rest of the day grumpy in a corner until he finally decides he's had enough and doing nothing isn't healthy. They each allow him to take 2 treats, so Mike asks for one even though he deducts $100,000 from the price. Kate objects, but Mike doesn't need her permission and his treat ends up being one green crayon. It's not a big deal, but at least now Mike can hang his art on the wall. After watching him paint for a while, Kate asks him to paint her and Mike accepts. However, he rejects realistic portraits because they are boring. He prefers to stick to his style, which is why Kate doesn't want to model for him anymore. Mike draws until he runs out of crayons, leaving Kate furious when he leaves green stains on towels in the bathroom and on the floor. Kate later apologizes for his villainous attitude and explains that this is harder than it sounds, but at least they only have 20 days left. After a few boring days, Kate wakes up one morning to find a gun in her bathroom. Scared to see if it was charging and scared of its presence, I decided to hide it under my bed because the AI forbids me to put any non-clothing items in the laundry chute. After some time, the couple was finally rewarded with bonding time while listening to messages sent by their loved ones. Mike receives a text message from her sister telling her how her parents are, but she also believes Mike is no longer with Kate. Mike is very happy to see her sister, But Kate doesn't want to get involved with her and panics when a video flashes on the screen of her father finally getting off the streets and living in a homeless shelter. No matter how much she asks, the footage won't stop, so Kate runs and hides behind the door of the bathroom crying, and her microphone comes over to comfort her. Kate, who slept clinging to her boyfriend, didn't wake up when her alarm clock said morning, and she spent the whole day in bed and fell into a depressed state. When Mike voices his concerns, Kate worries about his father, how the house is run, the tuition fees, and the opportunities he wasted, so he hasn't seen him in years and always talks to Mike. Tell me you're lying. She is ashamed that she grew up like a normal person. With just over 2 weeks left, Mike tries to find new ways to entertain himself, such as smudging crayons with his fingers to correct drawings and reading pajama labels with as much emotion as possible. Kate is still in bed. Acting practice. He jokes about her food and tries to get Kate to eat it, but it's pointless, so he ends up going to bed with her to comfort her. It still doesn't work, and sometimes Mike chooses to sleep on the floor just to feel something different. One morning he tries to convince Kate to eat something delicious, but Kate refuses to lose the money. Frustrated, Mike says he doesn't know if he can do it anymore and eventually urges Kate to get out of bed. But before she took her shower, she told Mike to give her a second treat, even if it cost $250,000. Mike does so and is shocked to see the door open and a naked woman named Simone enter the room. She knows nothing about this project. She's just an actress getting paid to act, and that pay requires the signing of a number of non-disclosure agreements. Her contract was for 1 month, but she said her agent would probably stay around the clock. Kate doesn't really like her presence and asks Mike to give her a t-shirt of her own so Simone can at least hide a little. Simone notices Mike's art and recognizes and admires its influence, but Kate is even more upset. At night, Mike offers to sleep on the floor while the girls go to bed, and Simone offers to stay awake while the girls sleep. Kate got mad at her manners and she decided she could all share a bed as long as she slept in the middle of her. It was Kate who couldn't sleep that night. In the morning, Kate didn't find Simone on the bed and thought she was gone, but she was actually in the bathroom. Kate got impatient and decided to treat herself to something delicious and was given a small box with 3 fun candies. Kate soon after she received one and to Simone she offered one, while Mike received one after a long hesitation. The 3 begin dancing, waving their arms around the room, and sharing a few group kisses. But after a while, Mike gets horrified, sees blood everywhere, and dreams that he's in the water and his brother is falling with him. The women pull Mike back to reality, but Mike still panics and he begs to leave while talking about Sean and the drowning man. Kate has to drag him to bed and comfort him until he falls asleep. Later, when Simone asks Mike what he was talking about, Kate tells him that Mike's brother Sean drowned in the family pool when Mike was supposed to be watching, and that is still the case with her. She says she doesn't feel well. Mike was high when the incident happened, explaining that it made his injury worse and why he was reluctant to accept the candy here. Director Simeone also asked how the two met, and Kate said one rainy day when she didn't have her umbrella with her, Mike came up to her and asked her to hold the raindrops so she wouldn't get wet. She fondly remembered that she had offered to take it. When Mike finally wakes up, he reveals that Simone lost her mother when she was young, and that they met through her grief and her experience of losing someone she loved. Simone takes Mike's hand to comfort him, but Kate sees it and panics, thinking Simone is trying to steal her boyfriend. Simone flaunts Kate's demeanor, and an argument erupts when she points out that Kate is in fact an insecure person and acts violently. Mike yelled at them to stop before they left. Kate tries to apologize and she admits that what she saw was probably nothing, but Simone reignites her flame by saying it probably wasn't either. The next morning, Mike wasn't feeling well, but Kate was focused on other things. Simone is finally gone, but a note from her in green crayons is left on her wall thanking Mike for her wild night. When Mike explains that he's not doing anything, it's like a gun, something the room does to confuse them, Kate freaks out and doesn't listen. In a fit of rage, Kate knocks Mike to the ground, injuring his head and bleeding. Mike walks away from her, reminding her that he never cheated on her even when she moved to New York. He also stopped seeing her so-called wealthy friends so as not to make her uncomfortable, and she didn't finish college to stay at her house when she was depressed. Rice field. But all he gets is jealousy. Kate cries and continues her apology, but the conversation is interrupted when Mike becomes dizzy from his wound. He genuinely thinks he needs a doctor, but Kate brings meal shakes to give her sugar, covers her wound with a towel, and says her contract doesn't include allowance for medical procedures. Remind the microphone. Mike can't believe what he's hearing and begins to wonder if Kate really cares. His wound turned out to be small and the bleeding eventually stopped, but he fears that if it had been worse, she might have let him bleed for money. Mike hated what this place did to them and realized that money alone wasn't enough to solve the problem. He decides to leave and invites Kate to do the same. But Kate refuses, pointing out that it's easy for him to say such things because he always has money, and she retrieves her gun and blackmails him into staying. However, Mike ignored her, pushed her buttons, and eventually walked out of her room days before her victory. After a long day of lying in the shower and panicking, Kate sees raindrops painted on the wall and approaches the button, prompting her to consider her options as she only has 2 days left. Months later, single Mike is jogging when she sees Kate coming out of the building. The two, who haven't seen each other since leaving the room, decide to go for a walk to chat and share, but when Mike asks Kate if she left the room or won, Kate dodges the question. Rice field. At least she apologizes for what happened. As they left, the building turned out to be a homeless shelter, with a plaque stating that anonymous donations had allowed the construction of a new kitchen. Meanwhile, in the pristine room, a new couple arrives to take on the challenge.